This is 8 Minutes, a podcast helping you understand the energy and climate challenge in just a few minutes. I'm your host, Paul Schuster. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the world is on track to warm more than our 1.5 degrees Celsius target as laid out in the Paris Agreement. And while Plan A is still to do everything that we can to reduce emissions and mitigate the impact that our actions are having on climate, it's about time we start looking at adapting our own actions to be more resilient, adaptive, strengthened in the face of changing environmental conditions. Climate resiliency doesn't get as much coverage as net zero goals and targets or renewable energy buildouts, but it's becoming a key component for any business or city strategy moving forward. 8 minutes. It's how long it takes the sun's rays to hit Earth, or, as today's Memorial Day, it's about how long it takes to overcook a hamburger. Or, looked at another way, it's about 8 minutes longer than you should cook a turkey burger, because nobody likes a turkey burger. Let's get it on. Understanding the impact that a changing climate may have on your family or business or community is becoming a big topic. If you followed the recent reporting guidelines as set out by the International Sustainability Standards Board, the ISSB, and the Security and Exchange Commission, the SEC, a big part of their requirements is ensuring that companies understand and are disclosing the potential impact that climate change could have on their operations. In some cases, that can be huge. There are trillions of dollars at stake in economic impact from extreme weather events or heat domes or flooding or disrupted supply chains, harvests, even workforce dislocations. The World Business Council on Sustainable Development, the WBCSD, released a report in April estimating that in order for the globe to become more climate resilient, the annual investment would need to be close to that spent on the COVID pandemic. Annually. Almost $10 trillion. And that may be a good investment, as the impacts could be much, much greater, up to 10 times as much, according to the WBCSD. But climate resiliency continues to be sharply underfunded globally. In 2023, only $63 billion was invested, far less than the nearly $10 trillion required. Part of the challenge? Climate resiliency remains a very localized problem with very localized solutions. On the one hand, that's allowed the ingenuity and innovativeness of individual businesses and cities to shine through, but it's also made scaling of solutions and models really tough. In any case, let's start to unpack how some of those entities are addressing the changing climate landscape. First, let's take a look at our food chain, which may be the most intuitively at risk from changing conditions. Adverse heat conditions to flooding to delayed frosts, farmers are faced with an assortment of challenges in ensuring that their crops make it to market. And it's not just plant farms, as dairy and poultry farms, even fishing are all at risk. The Alaskan king crab population nosedived from about 400 million to 282 million from 2020 to 2021, largely due to increased water temperatures that messed with the crab's internal biological functions on how and when to eat. But fishermen, farmers, dairy producers, they're on the front lines of climate change and are taking positive actions towards reducing the impact on their businesses. Solutions such as introducing drought-resistant seeds, water harvesting, switching to more native plant varietals, these have all helped, as have engineering faster-growing plant varieties. The International Center for Agricultural Research in Dry Areas worked on developing a faster-growing lentil variety that effectively doubled the crop yield for farmers. The second set of entities to look at is the business community. Similar to our food chain entities, the ones who are out in front of this are also very exposed to harvest-related challenges. Nestle, for instance, has taken a proactive approach to their supply chain for ingredients. The company mapped the expected changes in yield for key ingredients across their supply chain and against different climate scenarios. The result enables them to better plan and operationalize how they would react to extreme seasonal conditions. Grocery chains have also started to address their needs for resilience. Ahold, the owner of such brands as Stop & Shop and Giant here in the U.S., is partnering with utilities to build the electrical infrastructure required for backup services in case of weather-induced disruptions. And Walmart has a central planning office just devoted to extreme weather conditions. and has mobile generators capable of being deployed to any storm risk facility in order to ensure that the stores stay open and are available to communities in times of extreme weather. And even manufacturing facilities are starting to think about how they should be building more resilience into their operations. AstraZeneca, for instance, has shifted from a just-in-time inventory policy to one where their new facility in Puerto Rico is required to hold 3 months of inventory on hand, just in case. And then there are cities, where policymakers are taking a hard look at how to protect their constituents, especially the most vulnerable who are disproportionately affected by climate impacts. Municipalities are integrating climate adaptation into their long-term infrastructure planning, building for flood resistance or heat island dissipation. Urban tree cover has become important to provide shade and support carbon removal. Early warning systems are being implemented, tailored to help the most vulnerable in the community. Entities are stepping in to determine what and how they can build climate adaptation into their strategy. And yes, that remains a very individualized, localized effort to address the needs of the individual city or business's needs. But there are systemic solutions starting to emerge as well. Solutions such as apps that allow farmers to share resources and information on climate solutions. Or cities that are democratizing community solar and other assets across their communities and across municipalities. The first step for organizations interested in hardening their operations is to do a full climate risk assessment. And while that assessment should consider the impacts of physical risks across operations, supply chains, and the communities in which companies operate, it should also consider transitional risks too. How are changing policies, regulatory conditions, legal situations likely to impact the company? What risks emerge from an increasingly electrified, decarbonized power grid? And then understand the resources available to do something about those risks. From federal grants to community partnerships to coalitions such as the Resilient Cities Network. There are a lot of emerging solutions to strengthen your own entity in this challenge. I'm Paul Schuster, and this has been your 8 Minutes.